One, maybe we can start.
Oh, okay, great. Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Oanh. I'm from Kiều Oanh. I'm the founder and CEO of Center for Social Initiative Promotion. We're based in Hanoi, Vietnam. In this morning session, I was the moderator for the plenary session too. And as you know that because of time constraint, we cannot have an open forum after the plenary session too. So now I would like to welcome you all to the supplementary discussion on food security, resilience, and women empowerment. For the easier reference, we also call the multi-stakeholder platform as We Live Food, the women's empowerment, livelihood, and food in agricultural value chains. So as you see that after the discussion in the plenary session 2, we have come to the supplementary discussion now, where we are converting this section into a learning event on the framework and tools on the transformational partnerships and women empowerment, including showcasing 2 agricultural interventions that became the basic for the benchmark for transformational partnership and women economic empowerment. Today, we should be discussing the initial plan conceived by the convener and the key stakeholder of the platform. Hence, the following objective will be addressed in this afternoon. The number one is to share the framework and tool on transformational partnership and women economic empowerment. The second objective is to share the concept, objective, and initial plan of the multi-stakeholder on the way live food in agriculture value chains. Number three objective is to feature social enterprise-led agricultural value chains intervention that inspires the benchmark for transformational partnership and women economic empowerment in agricultural value chains. All right. So in this afternoon, we also have three, we are we are very happy to have three speakers. Dr. Mary Lisa Decanes will be our first presenter. So Dr. Lisa Decanes is the president of the IC and recognized as outstanding social innovation thought leader by 2019 by the Swap Foundation for the social entrepreneurship. So she will be speaking more on the benchmark and also the scorecard and how you can and engage that evolving process that were from the action research, and now we have like the as a we platform, and how we can amplify and apply the benchmark into our work to improve our work. So over to you, Lisa.
Thank you very much, Juan. And maybe all of you were in the panel this morning in the morning session. So I will just take off from that because we would like to have some time for the open forum. Actually, this morning, I tried to explain to you the benchmarks for transformational partnerships and women's economic empowerment in agricultural value chain interventions as having 8 elements. And those 8 elements I've explained this morning, and I'd like to invite you to actually look at the framework paper where we explain these 8 elements more clearly, and this is available in the web page that we launched this morning. Yeah? But just to remind you about the benchmarks for transformational partnerships and women's economic empowerment in ABC intervention 8 elements. These have to do with appropriate technology and community-based innovations. That's the first one. The second is about a more substantive share of value over time going to the small producers. The third is about food security and resilience. The fourth is about empowerment of small producers. The fifth is about stewardship and sustainable consumption and production. The sixth is about transactional and transformational partnerships or services. The seventh is about women's participation and empowerment. And the eighth is about measurable outcomes of transformation. So as I explained this morning, the 8 elements we actually transformed into a scorecard so that any multi-stakeholder group that is wanting, that is actually implementing an agricultural value chain intervention can actually do an assessment, an evaluation of their practice to see to what extent they are actually adhering to the benchmarks. No? And if as you see in the slide, you would see that the 8 elements are divided into, have a score, no? Of at the right side, and then if you have a perfect score, it's a perfect score of 100, yeah. But if of course if you don't have a perfect score, you will have anywhere below below 100 to below 50 even maybe. But I just wanted, next slide please. But we also realized that agricultural value chain programs are also being implemented by enterprises, yeah. So from an enterprise perspective, we also thought that it would be a good idea to actually develop scorecards from the enterprise perspective. So the AVC intervention scorecard is for the multi-stakeholder intervention in an agricultural value chain, whereas this second scorecard is a scorecard for SMEs and intermediary social enterprises, yeah. Because when we started to use the scorecard using the original 8 elements on small and medium enterprises and corporates, they started to say, but we don't do all that. From an enterprise perspective, we need to be able to, we have limitations, no? So we tried to understand their concerns, and we came up with an appropriate scorecard that still adheres to the benchmarks, no? But this time having 4 elements. The first element is about investments for small producers. Meaning to say that the first thing that this is about an element that rather than just buying from the market, no, or from the lowest price being offered by a small producer, you know, we act or through trading. The first benchmark for SMEs and SEs is about direct engagement with small producers and to what extent they're investing in a relationship with small producers. The second the second element to the benchmark is about strategic partnerships with organized small. So it's not just a matter of investing in a direct relationship with small producers, but it's also a matter of undertaking a partnership with organized women and men small-scale producers. The third has to do with women's economic empowerment and supply chain, meaning to say this measures to what extent the SME or the intermediary social enterprise is investing in women's small-scale producers' participation as well as their empowerment in the value chain. And the fourth is about responsible business outcomes. We try to measure to what extent the intervention combined will result to measurable outcomes in relation to the small producers, both the women and the men. So we have an SME scorecard and a scorecard for intermediary social enterprises. And if you're wanting to look at what is contained in all this is also in our webpage. Next slide, please. So similarly, we also have a scorecard for corporations. Yeah, it's similarly structured. It also talks about investments with the small producers communities, and then strategic partnerships with the organized small producers, and then women's economic empowerment in the supply chain, as well as responsible business outcomes. No? So it's a similarly structured scorecard. So the idea behind the scorecards is these are used to actually measure the level of adherence, no? And we have developed an interpretation for the scorecard. Next slide, please. And if you get a score, no? If you get a score of 40 and below for your overall score, you are actually a learner striver to the benchmarks. If you have a score of 50 to 74, you're a good transformational partner. 75 to 87, you're a very good transformational partner. And 88 to 100, it's when you are a best practice. Similarly, the Women's Economic Empowerment Score, next slide please, is all about If you get 30 and below, you are women's economic empowerment aware. No, you're aware of women's economic empowerment. But if you get a score of 31 to 46, you are a responsive women's economic empowerment enabler. And if you get a score of 47 to 60, you are a transformative women's economic empowerment enabler. So the idea is your score reflects a level of development, and it shows areas for improvement where you're strong and where you're weak. No? And depending on that, it's used for planning. Next slide, please. So actually, the way that we assist stakeholders who come into the platform would be to assist them use the scorecards as evaluation, planning, and learning tools. And then we also offer an evaluation of the COVID-19 impact on small-scale producers and doing a baseline study on using the benchmarks, and use this to assist the company, the small and medium enterprise, the corporate, in inclusive recovery planning, as well as use it for purposes of scoring as well as planning their interventions. And we assist them with their implementation plan as well. As I was explaining this morning, we have the resources to only cover 7 corporates, social enterprises, and SMEs under the Gracie project, but we're open to actually providing the service to others who are willing to do this. If it is financed by a third party, or if they want to, if a corporation, for example, wants to finance it themselves, they can. But I think the important thing here is, because of COVID-19, we have inserted the need for evaluation of the COVID-19 impact on small-scale producers. No? So the other thing that we're doing is we're engaging government for inclusive recovery and building back better. And this morning, there was a discussion about it, the need to be, more than just dealing with the enterprise level intervention. And I'd like to explain that the reason why we have guidelines for transformational partnerships and women's economic empowerment in agricultural value chains when we engage government is because this means enabling policies as well as mechanisms to incentivize the practice of the benchmarks for transformational partnerships and women's economic empowerment in agricultural value chains. So we're talking here about two tools. A tool for enabling policies and mechanisms that we are wanting to lobby to governments, and a tool for practicing the benchmarks, which is actually what the scorecards are all about. Next slide, please. So the Women's Economic Empowerment, or the Women's Empowerment Livelihoods and Food in AVCs platform. What are its objectives and plan of action? I already discussed this somewhat this morning, but maybe we can give some details now. No? So for the learning exchange and building a community of practice, we are piloting and replicating the use of the scorecards and the We Train package of services that I was explaining earlier to SMEs, social enterprises, corporations, and agricultural value chain players. No? And we're actually partnering with CICIP, Binaswadaya, and Dompet Duafa to do this in Indonesia and Vietnam. But we're also directly working with organizations like PBSP and PPSA in the Philippines for corporates and SMEs. Yeah. And of course, we're dealing directly with social enterprises who are wanting to use this. And then we will be doing We Live Food. We've already launched the We Live Food webpage. And in addition to that, we're hoping to have a webinar series to actually share best practices on the use and on practices related to the benchmarks. The second set of objectives have to do with projecting collective impact. What we want to do is to develop a monitoring and evaluation system where we are able to use the scorecards and its elements, as well as the 9 SDGs linked to pandemic recovery plus gender equality. Those are the 10 SDGs, no? So that we will develop a monitoring and evaluation system for projecting collective impact. In engaging governments, I've already explained that we will be lobbying for a set of guidelines for transformational partnerships and women's economic empowerment in ASEAN. And we're hoping that we can have a multi-stakeholder conference in order to bolster this push with the ASEAN. And in the Philippines, we're doing a pilot initiative of engaging the Department of Agriculture. In terms of partnerships and cross-sectoral collaboration, as I said, we started this in Southeast Asia, but we're now wanting to expand to South Asia and the Pacific. We are going to be co-developing an ICT infrastructure so that learning exchange, projecting collective impact, engaging government, and partnership building can actually be powered by ICT. No? And we're doing this in partnership with an organization called Idea Corp. And in collaboration with other platforms, we're going to set up two funds. One is a COVID-19 Serve Fund, which will sustain the platforms and the Secretariat work to the platforms. And the second would be a social enterprise recovery fund, which we hope will be actually helping social enterprises with what we call the hybrid financing they need to recover. And this fund is not going to be centralized. What we're planning to do with this fund is it's going to be decentralized. We're going to tap into resources, but the implementation of the fund, it will be wholesaled to existing mechanisms such as social enterprise resource institutions, like for example, CICIP has already a fund that they are managing that could actually be a mechanism to implement that, and they already have resources. What we will do is to leverage those resources so that more funds can be brought in from multilateral agencies, from governments, development banks, and the like. Yeah, and at the same time, we will be doing resource mobilization to sustain and broaden our platform beyond 2021. July 2021. And the reason why this is important is because we now have the support of Japan Foundation Asia Center as well as Oxfam for our platform. But beyond July 2021, there's no assurance for the funding. So we need to work towards funding beyond July 2021. Next slide, please. In terms of governance, I've already explained, no, that we have an organizing committee with all these key stakeholders. ISEA is co-convening this with Trubus Binasubidaya and the Center for Social Initiatives Promotion. And we're hoping that the stakeholders who come in can be partner practitioners, partner enablers, and partner advocates. And what we're hoping to do is in 1 year's time, next slide and last, as I said, is to have a multi-stakeholder conveners group. No? In the plenary, I explained to you that we should now be bringing in national government agencies, multilateral agencies, corporate agribusiness, SMEs, civil society, and social investors. But how is this multi-stakeholder conveners group different? Well, the difference is the strong representation of social enterprises as well as women and men small-scale producers. So there's a proposal, for example, for 7 to come from the group of women-led, women-only, as well as organizations and cooperatives of small producers and social enterprises assisting them. That will be 7 representatives, whereas we will have 6 representatives from the other stakeholders. And the reason why this is important is because we believe that this platform should first and foremost serve the needs of the marginalized women and men small-scale producers. Thank you, Juan. You're muted, Juan.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lisa. So in this afternoon, we have an opportunity to learn more in more information about the benchmark scorecard as well. And I see some people ask about is it the scorecards is available on the IC website now? Is that
yes?
Now?
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so one, it's available, but we have a public domain version where you see the sub-elements of the scorecard and the distribution of the score. But we are encouraging you to engage us in assisting the process of using it so that it could be used effectively.
I see, I see. So it's very interactive, and we can, ask for support from ICEA and, as a partner in the using in the process of using this. Thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you. Yeah, as you know that we have framework and we have a benchmark. You have some very strong tool to promote our work on the women and men led in agricultural value chains. Yeah, continue from with the two very good case study in the morning. So in the afternoon, we're also going to listen about the two others case studies that a good story to listen and to be inspired to learn from our two speakers. So the second speaker, Mr. Ted Lopez, he is the executive director of the Hunter Trade Foundation in Philippines. So he will present about the case of the sugar cane and beyond, the value chain development and women. So Lopez is a director of the Hunter Trade Foundation, and he also okay, so he will show us the case of the how the on-trade organic and fair trade value chain intervention in empowering the narrows agrarian reform beneficiary from a state of landlessness. This agrarian reform beneficiary are now owner of their own community enterprise. The women and men small producer also became owner and stakeholder of the NOFTA Fair Trade House, the marketing arm of this partnership. Okay, it sounds amazing. And may I invite Ted Lopez on the for the presentation.
Good afternoon. Do I have a good audio? Yes, you can hear me?
Yeah,
okay.
Very well. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So I am Ted Lopez. I'm from the Alter Trade Foundation in Negros Occidental, Philippines. And we are a non-government organization, but we are essentially a social enterprise that is that has the poor as the primary stakeholders. So for this afternoon, I will be presenting our self-evaluation. I have to share the screen now. Our self-evaluation of what's this? There. Yeah, this is our self-evaluation of our work, and we are using the basic shared elements and sub-elements as discussed by Lisa a while ago for the scorecards. So as a start, um, Alter Trade Foundation look back into the benchmarks for transformational partnerships and women's economic empowerment in agricultural value chains that was presented way back in 2018 that we used as a basis for our self-evaluation. Right now, we are in partnership with 729 farmers, men and women in 13 small producers organizations under the Negros Organic and Fair Trade Association, or NOFTA. If we will start by if we will review the benchmarks in 2018, for benchmarks one, that is primarily on appropriate technologies that we empower with the farmers. Our level of achievement is 77%, and empowerment of small producers on appropriate and scientifically sound technologies in sustainable and climate resilient farms. And we also engage into modernization of farm machineries, diversified crop nurseries, and high-yield varieties for sugarcane to further develop the capacity of the farms of the agrarian reform beneficiaries. You see, the agrarian reform beneficiaries are the former farm workers in the sugarcane plantations, and they were able to acquire the land through the government program of agrarian reform. But they needed support because the government mainly provided lands but failed to ensure the support services. So for benchmark 2, our we are into empowering of rural communities. Our development work is not externally dependent. Our development work is towards empowering the very farmers that needed to develop. So along this benchmark, we have an 80% achievement. We have improved the bargaining power of NOFTA, or as a small planters association dealing with the sugarcane sugar centrals. And we established a joint venture with NOFTA for the marketing of their products. And we improved the sustainable agriculture practices and fair trade values in the farm production. At the same time, we introduced the PACDIR, or the Participatory Tool or Climate Disaster Risk uh, tool for assessment and planning for climate resilient farms. For benchmark 3, in transformational partnerships that pave the way for the empowerment of women and men, small producers, we have a 70% achievement through 10 small farmers organization composed of 496 men and women. Partner producer associations have grown into self-determining institutions that steer their long-term and short-term holistic community. That's why this presentation says beyond the sugar production, our development work went farther beyond crop production, and we engage more into a holistic development of communities that is being done by self-determining organizations of small farmers. These small farmers have the bargaining capacity to deal with government at the local level and also with the private sector for their development work. And then for benchmark 4, our transformational partnerships provide a combination of transactional and transformational, which means that they are not merely raw material producers. We facilitate them to be centers of development in their communities, so that they do not only improve their production and income, but more of they improve their position within the agricultural value chain, and by themselves being entrepreneurs, by setting up or establishing the community-based enterprises. We have an 80% achievement of this benchmark. So benchmark 5 is transformational partnerships, proactively choose value change and invest in transparent, accountable value chain development. We have 90% attainment in partner communities. ATFI NOFTA achieved a higher level of women participation and empowerment in their community. This process attained the PO level awareness and institution of gender equity to gender responsive policies and practices, resulting to improvement of women economic gains and participation in key organizational responsibilities. We established community enterprises that benefited primarily the women. And so it also redounded to improvement of the women's income up to about up to almost 2,000, 4,000 pesos per month. That's way ahead of the the previous income of women that is usually up to only 2,000 per month. Then on benchmark 6, we have 70% achievement in our poverty reduction. Our farmers have been able to ensure their food security, improvement of their incomes by tenfolds. Their children were able to access education, since most of the farmers right now were only able to reach up to elementary. Now their children could graduate as engineers, nurses, and they were sent by the gains that the farmers got from their farm, improvement of their homes, and social protection through SSS and PhilHealth. At the community level, the SPOs have improved their land ownership, acquisition of assets, and they have their own farm machineries already, and they have they have rehabilitated their ecology and farm biodiversity. ATFI NOPTA has achieved an average of 78% attainment in the benchmarks for transformational partnership. Now, within the elements and sub-elements, there are 8 elements that we reviewed, and from based on these elements, we drew the scores. For number 1, we have 9 points. For element number 2, progressively position women and men to reap a more substantive share of value created over time. We got 12 points. For proactively building the resilience of men and women in small-scale producers to natural, social, and economic disasters, we have 11 points. Number 4, we have 12 points out of 14. Number 5 element, practice sustainable consumption and production and pave the way for women and men, small producers to become stewards of natural resource base, sustaining their livelihoods. We got 7 points. Number 6 provides a combination of transactional and transformational services among women and men to more effectively participate in value chain. We got 12 points. And then proactively choose value chains and engage in transparent, accountable value chain development. We have 11 points out of 16. And number 8 is produce measurable outcomes of transformation at the level of women and men producers, households, and communities. Out of 10 points, we had 7 points. So we have a total score for the benchmark for transformational partnership, 81. And for women's economic empowerment, we had a score of 32. So based on what was shared by Lisa, the overall score between 75 to 87 means it's good transformational partner of small producers and their living environment with significant initiatives towards empowering women. And for the score in the women's economic empowerment in agricultural value chains, we got 32 points, and that's between 31 and 46. So we got a responsive women's economic empowerment enabler. So that's all that we could share with you. And we're happy that we have learned this scorecard. We'll be using this continuously every year so we could see how we are moving up in our development work among the small farmers here in Negros Occidental. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Ted Lopez.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was very, very impressed with our analysis, in very depth analysis, and congratulations for the very good score. Yeah, very, very good transformative partner for the small farmer producers and also the women empowerment. Thank you very much. I think that after the whole 3 presentation, we will come back with you for more questions, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much, Ted. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so now we move to the next very interesting presentation from Mr. Siam Sun, Adrian Sian. I'm sorry if I'm not pronounced correctly.
That's fine.
Yeah. So he's currently served as the WAF Research and Development Officer of the Dompet Duafa. He becomes a part of Asia expert pool in Indonesia, delivering the We Train package of the service for its chosen SME. So today he will sharing the case of PT Kaya Masyarakat Mandiri, a subsidiary of the Dompet Duafa, which is one of Asia partner SME in Indonesia. Okay, so I guess that you will present the case and you also see how you analyze and give a scorecard based on the benchmarks that Asia already developed. Thank you.
Thank you for the moderator for this kind of opportunity. First of all, I have to prepare for the yes. Thank you. First of all, I would like to say thanks for the organizing committee of welcoming us to present our what we call as our self-assessments on one of social business under Dompet Duafa called PT Karya Masyarakat Mandiri. Yeah, I think this is the great opportunity because, you know, during this pandemic, the small medium enterprise has been the hardest hit by this pandemic. Yeah, as others disasters has disproportionate impact, and unfortunately, the small medium enterprise has become the most hardest hit impacted by this pandemic. Aside of this situation, there's also opportunity because due to this pandemic, the consequences of this pandemic to the global economic supply chain, it's also create opportunity for the small medium enterprise to take a bigger role in order to fulfill the local supply chains. So that's like, you know, vice versa between the worst and the negative and the positive impact of this pandemic. The other thing that also I think makes that our today's session are very important is because learning from Indonesia, for example, in the second quarters of economic during 2020, our economic growth has been negative -5, but agriculture has become for example, has become the more the growth of agriculture has been still positive. So that's this is the situation that probably the outcome of our discussion should be contribute to the what will be our imagination, the situation after this pandemic. Okay, started from the Karya Masyarakat Mandiri. The second, okay, Karya Masyarakat Mandiri is used to be programs, economic program under Dompet Duafa. As you probably know, Dompet Duafa is Islamic philanthropic institution established in 1993 and focus, as what Pak Nashid said in the previous session, that we are focused in 5 major intervention, and one of it is economy. And along of this economic intervention, we started more focus on economics in 1999 when we set up the agricultural laboratoriums and later become the Health Agriculture Institute. And then because of this time in 2012, the one of 3 economic program of Dompet Duafa has transformed into social business, and one of it is Karya Masyarakat Mandiri. And in 2016, the 3 of social enterprise under Dompet Duafa has merged become the PT Karya Masyarakat Mandiri. Next slide, please. The PT Karya Masyarakat Mandiri is one of social business group under Dompet Duafa that is engaged in agricultural, industrial development, community assistance program services, investment, production management, as well as trading activities for agricultural, livestock, coastal, micro, small, and medium enterprise product. And until now, we are working with almost 2,800 families in various sectors, and where the livestock and agricultural supply chain has become the main business, with worth business almost to 6.2 billion rupiah with portfolio empowerment program, and in 2019 reaching 15.2 billion rupiah. Next. This is some of product that has been focused by the PT KMM. We are working with several enabler, including corporate, and also using the funds that rise by Dompet Duafa and others private sectors like Aqua, Danone, and etc. Next, please. Yes, I think next. We are using this SME scorecard as our tools to make a self-assessment. As what Miss Dakana said in the previous presentation, there are 4 elements in SME scorecard, and the first element is the commitment to make inclusive investment in developing small producer as partner suppliers. Since its beginning, one of focus of Dompet Duafa is to increase the capacity of what we call as the poor, or the Duafa, the zakat beneficiaries, so they can have like economic ability, economic capacity to increase their resilience. So it is like the small producer has become our strategic partners in every layer of intervention. So in this kind of element, we are not only focused on increasing the production, but also improving the quality of the product. We invest in product innovation strategies and approach that help small producers to improve their access to market. And because Dompet Duafa is one of Islamic institution, we are using the Islamic holiday like Idul Fitri, the holiday after Ramadan, or Idul Adha, the pilgrimage holiday, as not only as a ritual or tradition activities, but also become marketplace for small producers that partnering with PT KMM and Dompet Duafa. For example, in last year, we during the Eid al-Fitri, we are collecting almost 4 billion rupiah, or equal 4 billion rupiah in cash that distribute become that are or equal to 270,000 US dollars that in form of rice that we are purchased from the farmers group that are partnering with PT KMM and reach approximately 80,000 beneficiaries. And during this year, when we have Eid al-Adha, there are activity what we call as kurban is part of Islamic traditions. PT KMM has distributed equal to 11,251 sheep. The number is increasing from last year, more than 100% from last year, and it's worth almost 15.7 billion, or equal to 1 million US dollars. And at least 225 beneficiaries are has been reached by this program. So this is our one of our activities when we are using the small producer as not only partner supplier but strategic partner suppliers. Seconds, move next slide, please. the second element of the scorecard is commitment of develop transformative inclusive partnership with cooperative. In Indonesia, most of the farmers are only own less than a half of hectares of each. So most of farmers are small farmers with a very limited space, very limited land that can be utilized. And most of the breeders are small breeders. They are only, for example, have like 5 goats per family of each. So there are most of the grassroots small producer is the very small or very limited capacity in the context of economics. So in this situation, we are seeing that investment in increasing the institution are very crucial in order to improve their capacity. By institution, they can have like collective bargain with other stakeholders to have more benefit from their economic activities. We have a program in, for example, in the brown sugars in central of Java, and they are now not only become as a national players in providing brown sugar, but also have export capacity. Next slide, please. The third element, however, in the third element, when we focus on women economic empowerment, we admit that this still our pending matters that we are not really focused on. Not because that this is not an important issue that we have to consider, but in the previous year, what we are focused in our institution is to improve our business line, because we hope that our expansion program, for example, to reach the women economic empowerment and others inclusive actors of economic in the small medium enterprise, should be taken from our own, for example, sharing from our profit and our business. So this amount is still small in the context of investing to this particular concerns. However, we saw that we understand that we also agree that this should be our focus in the futures. That's why we agreed to join in this initiative on women economic empowerment. And the others, next slide, please. For the fourth element, responsible outcome, KMM positions itself as a tool for economic resilience for small producers, especially those in agricultural supply chains. A part of being committed to inclusive business outcome, PT KMM also placed a small-scale producer as strategic partner in achieving its vision and mission. PT KMM has also proactively attract supportive partners, both corporation and also government agencies, to be actively involved in strengthening local institutions. And given to the current focus that is still in strengthening this KMM business line, as I was mentioned before, expanding to the empowerment horizon that leads to strengthening women economic empowerment, it still takes time for the preparation. So we hope that by next year we can have like more improvement in this particular concern. So in the sums, next slide, please. In the context of the scorecard, we have 52 as our values for the scorecard. That's mean, next slide, please. That's mean that we are a good transformation partner, but we acknowledge that on the we scorecard, our level is still level 1, that saying that we are only aware about this issue, and hopefully the elementary that focus on women economic empowerment become our focus for the next program in the line of along of improving or strengthening the business line of the PT KMM. That's from us from Indonesia. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much for the very nice presentation. I see that you're very humble to give very, the average score for the great work. I must say, yeah, because it's not, I see a lot of innovation, a new initiative and evolving, developing or many different businesses to really to empower our small farmer. So and engage them in working toward women empowerment. Even you as you mentioned that you're working toward that is still the way to go. But congratulations for the very great work and a lot of effort I can see you put on the work. Thank you very much. Right. So once again, thank you for three speakers for this first part of the supplementary session. So we already learned more from Lisa about the benchmark and the tool, how we we score the different element of the four key components of the scorecard of the benchmark scorecard, and we also listen to two very specific case study on how they use the benchmark scorecard to apply, to analyze, to score, and to see where are they and how they can move forward to achieve better, to become really like the very great, excellent, transformative partner with a small farmer and to promote the woman economic empowerment. Thank you very much again for three speakers. So as is now in this supplementary session, we have over 40 participants participate in this session. So may I invite you to open the, to turn on the camera, and we will take a photo group of this session, please. Yes, and Kathy, please help me to take a nice picture. Yeah, you ready, Kathy? Everything, everyone look good, happy? We can't hear you, Kathy.
Yeah, please turn on your cameras. Okay. Han, you help me, okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Merlin, yeah. Please. 1, 2, 3, smile. Next. We need to have the second group. Okay, hang on. Smile. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
finish.
Kang and Kathy for the nice picture. All right. Okay. So now we still have about I think about 10 or 15 minutes to continue our like the Q&A session in the morning, and also if anyone have any question to our three speaker in this afternoon, so you are welcome. Okay. So I'm not sure. Kathy and Lisa, I'm not sure is it Vice and Vitu and others reactor still with us today. I know that Lisa is with us. Is it Vice and Vitu? Are you there? I am not sure. Anyway, I think that if our the morning section, the speaker is maybe busy in another supplementary group, we can still discuss, and we can ask for our three speakers this afternoon to react and also to contribute to the question that people raise in the morning and the afternoon as well. So one of the questions that people raise to Vice, and I think raised to all of you who are working on the like the social enterprise, is how you connect or link different community growing groups. That could be coffee, could be tea, could be many different that kind of agricultural product. Link them together And in some case, if you can make it like strong alliance, like coffee alliance that rice that present this morning, but not coffee, maybe rice and maybe others yeah, community as well. That's how we can facilitate and link different small group, community-based group to make a strong boy to make an alliance. Is there any speaker have any idea, suggestion, and experience to share? Okay,
Maybe,
so
maybe
yep.
we can ask Ed and Samsul.
Yeah.
Yes. So maybe from Edwin first, so I can follow up.
Okay. Yeah. Are you ready to share any thought about that, Ted Lopez?
Yeah, can I get the question again?
Oh, okay. So the question is that how to connect different community-based growing group into a stronger regional or national alliance.
We actually we consolidate the farms of the agrarian reform beneficiaries. Most of them own only about half a hectare or up to 1 hectare. So we encourage them to consolidate their farm and manage them collectively as an organization. And with this, we were able to prove the government wrong because the government says that the the segmentation of the sugar plantations will only cause bankruptcy of the industry. But actually, it became more productive, and some of our organized farmers could earn as much as 7 million per year in gross income. And they were able to distribute this into dividends among the different member households. So we we organized them at the level of the province of Negros Occidental, so that they themselves have a greater bargaining power vis-a-vis the government, different agencies, and also with the private sector, with the sugar centrals. When I say that they were able to, in fact, the government adopted the model of ATFI, the consolidated farms, which now they call it the black farm. They say that is the more viable way of sustaining the sugar industry through this black farm. So our farmers were able to access benefits from the government through the black farm project.
Yeah,
So,
wonderful. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, so we connect a small farmer and there's a platform, and now it's very nice that government also recognize that platform, and they can start to build a partnership and communication between the government and small sugar producer. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, do you have any idea,
Yes.
Lisa, or or Samsung?
Yes. In here in Indonesia, the Farmer Association is more focused on advocacy activities, especially their focus on access to land and also tenurials. Because as I said before, that most of our farmers are only owns less than 0.5 hectares, so it's not sufficient for them to cultivate and to live with. So this is still big issue in Indonesia. So this also become like uh, 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 dominant focus for almost all farmers. Uh, uh, but the other situation is we are also facing the situation, for example, increasing lands that has been converted into palm oil plantations. That's affecting the indigenous communities, especially in, for example, some island like Sumatra, Kalimantan, also Sulawesi, and also Papua. Then it's not only put their food security in danger, but also get disasters in many some places. So. And because the focus of the association are more on advocacy works, and most of advocacy are focused on access to lands and land rights. So that's the challenge for the peasants, for the farmers to be organized are more difficult than in other places. Yes, of course, in Indonesia, there's also some farmer association, for example, HKTI or others, but that is not the real farmers who has been associated, but the landowners who mostly associated in this kind of association. This is so based on our experience in Indonesia, the challenges of improving our organizational activities for the farmers is the political situation due to the most of problem that connected to access to lands.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Yeah. Thank you for the sharing from our two speakers. You know, in the
maybe can I say something, Juan?
Yes, Lisa, can you also, because I received a similar question in the morning, they said that how we will ensure the honorable inclusion of the smallholder into tomorrow agriculture value chain. So we already talked about the past and how we engage in the tomorrow, in the future. ACV.
Yeah, I think there are many models, no? Like the Alter Trade Foundation created a model where they federated the cooperatives and the cooperatives and associations of small producers into NOFTA, no? The Negros Organic Fair Trade Association, that is doing two functions. One is advocacy, the other is a social enterprise. Yeah, so that's actually one model of federating small producers. And in the case of Alter Trade, NOFTA is not crop-based, no? It's actually small producers in different crop lines and even indigenous people, right? In the case of the Philippine Rural Reconstruction Movement, they actually have a separate federation for farmers, for advocacy, and then the farmers who are engaged in economic activities and social enterprises are set up into cooperatives, which they also federate together. No? So I think there are different models for federating, but in this platform that we have, I think there is room to work with both federations of farmers for advocacy, as well as the groups, no, that are actually working on social enterprise. Because as we know, there are many systemic barriers to agricultural value chain development, such as ownership of land, access to capital, all these things. No? These things can be resolved not only by doing social enterprise development per se, but actually addressing systemic issues. Yeah. So we need to be cognizant that social enterprise development is not the end all and be all of everything, but we need to work together in terms of creating an enabling environment for social enterprise development to happen. That's the reason why we also have the benchmarks for transformational partnerships and women's economic empowerment in agricultural value chains, mainly for engaging farmers, small producers as the economic actors, you know. But we also have the guidelines for transformational partnerships and women's economic empowerment in agricultural value chains directed towards government and other enablers in order for them to ensure that there is an enabling environment to incentivize the practice of the benchmarks. No? So I think that's the way. So in our platform, we can have this platform at the regional level, but we can also have this platform at the national level. And it's, I think, dependent on how we evolve over time. We're just starting this year, and we're hoping that some national experiments can happen where we can have national platforms that actually are more rooted at the local level than the regional one, because the regional one, I think, has its limitations. We need to create more rooted platforms at the national level. Having said that, there's a very simple question that I wanted to answer. Jay is asking if the agricultural value chain scorecard is in the ISEA website now. Yes, Jay, it is in the ISEA website. It is in the web page for We Live Food, our platform. And what is there is actually the public domain version of 3 scorecards. The AVC intervention scorecard, that was what actually TED used. No? Alter Trade Foundation decided to use the multi-stakeholder scorecard. That's why it had 8 elements, right? Whereas Shamsul, KMM opted to use the small and medium enterprise scorecard, which is also the scorecard for intermediary social enterprises. No? And of course, the scorecard has a bias towards women's economic empowerment. No? If you notice, 60 of the 100 are actually about women's economic empowerment. That's the reason why, even if Shamsul's, even if KMM is actually doing a lot of good work, yeah. I think because they're weak in terms of women's economic empowerment, they got a relatively low score, but still good, right? But the other thing that I wanted to say was in relation to what your point was, it's a self-assessment, really. When we have a community of practice, we will not just be doing self-assessments, but we will start to, have a standard about what does it mean to have this score, and maybe you calibrate a bit. And maybe Alter Trade might have a higher score, or even KMM might have a higher score if we start to calibrate across different experiences. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Lisa. I think that this afternoon session is more about the benchmark and how we can apply it to our work. So I would spend more time to ask, Ted and also the Samsung about the So what is the challenge when you So when you use it the scorecard and for the self analysis, self assessment, do you find any challenge in using this tool, and any lesson learned you want to share with other people?
Yeah, of course. I think the challenge is because it's about to familiar with the tools, with the instruments. For example, for the context of the KMM, because our focus in the recent year is to strengthen our business line, so we can have like we are on the process of become the social business in the real terms, and not only like part of the Dompet Duafa intervention program, because the challenge is how we can transform, because Dompet Duafa used to be a charity institutions, and now when we set up PT KMM, we are trying to move from the charity activities into economic productive activities. So it's like changing our paradigm in the context of organizing our business process in the PT KMM. This is the internal challenge of it. The other challenge that we are also facing is probably like what Lisa said, that maybe we are not seeing the good thing of us. Because when we make a self-assessment, we are trained, like you said, we are not too confident to present the achievements of this scorecard. For your information, before I was in the process of this self-assessment, is the first thing that we are doing is I send the scorecard to the for the KMM's management, and they score less than what I'm scoring. So after that, after I visited and I discussed with them and tried to collect, to memorize, to inventarize the achievement in others in four elements, we comes up with these numbers. So that's probably like it's not we have to more conscious and more familiar. Uh, the the good things from by using this scorecard is we know the area that need to be improved in the future. For example, we acknowledge that we are not yet focused on women economic empowerment. This is not this is in the reality most of our partners, strategic partners, mostly are women associations, women small producer, but we are not considering it as our specific target of intervention, because if I'm saying that we are tend to be gender blind.
Yeah.
But I think this is good thing. So let's make us realize that this is important for us to make like equal attentions for women, for men, and also women in our programs. And also it's also become our tools for like capacity building, internal capacity building, in order to look and to realize what is the difference. For example, right now when we have situation under COVID, like I said before, that disaster in many other in others in many terms has disproportionate impact, and the poor are hit the most, and amongst the poor, women are hit the most. So we realize that when we have, like, for example, specific intervention for the most vulnerable element in the society, it's not saying that women are in the most vulnerable element, but in our reality, the situation say that they are not beneficial. Yeah, women are still less benefit from this activities. So if, for example, we are focused on the most vulnerable element in the society, so we are more confidence of we have more strengths on how we lift them out from the poverty, as what SDGs say, that no one left behind.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Siam Sun. I think that you are not alone. I think that I I mean that you are very good case. That I don't know how ICR can pick you very typical a good business, the SME business that normally we do good work and without any clear vision and value, development, and that's why we are in, sometimes we don't know how to measure it, and also how to enhance the very core value like women economic empowerment. Even that the majority of the stakeholder as women, and the situation is that especially COVID, it hit the most. But we take it as granted, and if without there's a tool framework for you to deepen the understanding, the works, and analyze the situation. So you may ignore it, but now, yeah, it's a wonderful thing. Congratulations, you all become the expert, and you can. Your story is very inspiring. I think you can start to talk with another SME about the challenge, but also the benefit and joy of applying the benchmark scorecard in the work as well. Thank you very much. Very honest and very open sharing from Siam Sun. Okay, so may I invite Ted Lopez, who are, you see, the very high score in to share about his experience in applying the scorecard in the self-assessment of his organization. May I invite you, Ted? Ted, are you there? I hope you are still there. I know that we are behind the time, so
He's not here anymore.
oh, he's not here. Okay, okay. Yeah,
But Earl is here.
yeah, he was there. Okay, so Lisa, can you have any other sharing in this session, and we will close the session in about 3 or 5 minutes? Yes.
Yes, yes. Just a minute. Yes, sorry. Of course, the scorecards are actually evaluation, planning, and learning tools. No, so as Jay was pointing out, Jay Laksamana is saying, I think the scorecard can still be enriched after being piloted among SMEs and agribusiness corporations operating now under the post-COVID-19 agricultural value chain. No? So I think that's true. And actually, we are piloting the scorecards up to July next year. And in that piloting process, we're hoping to finalize a scorecard that is more responsive to social enterprises, SMEs, and corporate agribusinesses. And at the same time, I just wanted to say that I would like to invite everyone to become partners, because right now, the focus of the promotion of the benchmarks and the guidelines for transformational partnerships and women's economic empowerment in agricultural value chains is in Vietnam, the Philippines, and of course also Indonesia, to a certain extent Thailand. But beyond that, no, I think we haven't really generated a participation there because our project did not reach those countries. For example, like South Asia, no? Or even the Pacific. This morning we had dry jelly from Oxfam saying that it is relevant to them. So we'd like to invite everyone to become partners in the promotion of the benchmarks in terms of practice. We'd also like to invite people from other regions, no, to work with us, because as I said also in the guidelines, our focus at the moment is as ASEAN, no, as an entity, because the project that we are operating in is focused on influencing ASEAN. But we would love to partner with other organizations that are focused in other sub-regions as well. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the great tool we can apply not only in ASEAN but in anywhere in the region, at least, or even the border in the internationally. Okay, thank you very much, our speaker and presenter in this afternoon, and also in the morning as well. I think we have very fruitful whole days conference. And we learned a lot from the different presenter about their perspective on how to link our work and to better address and achieve SDG in time. So with that, I thank you again, Lisa, and Samsung and other speaker. Thank you, ICR team, for the great organization, for the great organizing the event, and thank you for everybody for participating in this Sub-Plenary session this afternoon. And I hope that we will see you again tomorrow morning. Right? Yeah.
Hang is requesting us to open our videos so that we can take another picture.
Oh.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hang on. Yes. Yeah. Smile, please. Yeah, I think so. Done. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Juan.
Yeah, thank you, Kati, Lisa, and everybody. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good day. Good afternoon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.